Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Today I wanted to share with you my top favorite foods that are the longest lasting, that are easy to vacuum seal into jars. They're foods that you can buy in large amounts or small amounts because it depends on what your budget is. Maybe you can afford to buy one package of food that's small or a huge package. It all depends on your budget. If you're on a limited budget, you can still prepare longest lasting foods, put them away, a package at a time, $1 or $2 at a time. It doesn't take a large amount of money to prepare for an uncertain future. We can all see that the price of food is going up. I was reading that in the last 3 years, the price of groceries has gone up 38%. I don't think that's true for every single item or every single location, but it's certainly something to be aware of. So let's get into the longest lasting foods that are simple to vacuum seal away for long-term food storage stockpile. The foods that you add to your prepper pantry, your food storage stockpile, should be foods that you're willing to eat, you're willing to rotate, and that you know how to prepare them. The best foods to put away for the longest lasting are single ingredients, one ingredient. When you start combining ingredients, then if they have something like oil in them, the oil goes rancid and all of the other ingredients do too. So it's most important that you really look at what you're putting away. Some foods are just not going to last, but a lot of the dry foods that are single ingredient can last nearly forever. The more airtight you store these foods in a cool, dark, dry environment, the longer they're going to last. One of the main enemies of food is air and oxygen, so we want to seal our food as airtight as possible for it to last the longest. The first food that I store for long term is white rice. White rice lasts far longer than brown rice because brown rice, it's naturally oily and so it's going to go rancid after a few years. You can stockpile and store brown rice as well, but you need to make sure that you are rotating it far sooner, far more often than white rice, which you can put away for 30 years or practically forever. So it's a food that you can buy a 1 pound bag, 2 pound bag, even a 50-pound bag, but you see how you can make it fit your budget. You can put white rice away in a jar, vacuum seal it, put it in your pantry, and it can last nearly forever. I like storing foods in smaller amounts because then when I go to open it, then it's a sensible size. It'll fit into my working pantry, and it's food then that is easy to use and rotate. If you have a 50-pound bucket, that's great for an emergency, but say you're a single person or you don't eat a lot of rice, you might question whether you want to open a gigantic bucket of rice if you want to have some in your pantry. So for me, it's easier to rotate smaller containers and it's easier to put it away. Yes, it's nice to put some of it away in the 5-gallon buckets sealed up with Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. But if you really want to be rotating through some of this food, try storing it in smaller containers that suits your actual pantry and the size of your family. If you have a huge family, maybe you go and open those buckets regularly, but I don't think most of us do. The next longest lasting food that I like to put away and vacuum seal it are beans. You can get beans in so many different varieties. That's one of the nice things about being able to pick them up one bag at a time. You can get a variety rather than 50 pounds of the exact same beans. While it's nice to put that 50 pounds away into a bucket, it's also nice to have variety in your pantry. So I have a wide array of beans. I have some black beans. I have garbanzo beans. I have pinto beans. I have white beans. And don't forget lentils and green split peas. So you can see how you can pick them up one bag at a time, $1 or $2, but some of them are going higher than that now. And then you can easily fill up a jar and vacuum seal it. The next food that I like to vacuum seal for the longest lasting term is pasta. You can get all different sizes, shapes of pasta, but not egg noodles because those have eggs in them. But look for the different kinds of shapes. One thing that I will recommend to you is that the longer, straighter noodles, you can put far more of them into a jar than some of the ones with the pretty shapes. So if space is a concern, look for the simpler foods. This one holds several pounds of pasta, and this one holds not even an entire pound. So you can see how all of the different airspace between these cute noodles is really taking up all the space in the jar. But you can seal these up and you can have them last nearly forever. The next long-lasting food that I like to vacuum seal is oatmeal. Oatmeal is so versatile. You can make overnight oats. You can make regular oatmeal. You can use it as meal stretchers. Add it into things like meatloaf, meatballs, casseroles. You can make some of these foods go farther with some of the meal stretchers like oatmeal. And you can also grind it up and turn it into oat flour, use it for baking, and you can even turn oatmeal into oat milk. I made a video on how to turn it into oat milk, and I'll put a link to that video if you're interested. The next food I like to vacuum seal is popcorn. Popcorn can last a long time, but you need to keep it in an airtight container. Each little kernel has a little bit of moisture inside. Well, the little droplet of moisture is what expands and then pops the popcorn. Popcorn is also nice because you could, if you have some kind of a grain meal, grind it up and then you would have some cornmeal. The next food I like to vacuum seal is tea bags. If you store your tea airtight, then it's going to remain fresh. I've stored tea for like 10 years, and when I open it up, it's still perfectly fine. But it isn't going to be if it's just in a cardboard box in your pantry. It goes stale because of the air getting to it. So the better you store your foods, the longer it lasts, and that is just the truth. When you get your food, you can bring it home, pour it into a jar, stick a label on it so you know what it is, put a tight-fitting lid on it, and that can help it to last. But if you can vacuum seal it, these foods will all last far longer. So don't be afraid to get a small amount and put it away in a jar, or even a plastic container like a pop bottle or something that held food, that not anything that ever held chemical, and you can store these away in food grade containers. I'll put a link to a video I made about other kind of containers that you can use to store your dry food. And so even if you aren't able to vacuum seal these foods, they're still long lasting foods that you should get and have in your stockpile. They're going to go a long way for not a lot of money, helping you keep your family fed during hard times as well as good times. My favorite gadget for vacuum sealing foods is, of course, the Food Saver. Some of them come with a Food Saver jar attachment where you have a little accessory hose. You put on the hose and then you get the lids. You can have a regular mouth jar lid and a wide mouth jar lid. You fill your jar with dry foods, make sure the rim is clean, look over your lid. You can reuse the lids, but you want to inspect the rubber ring on them and make sure that it's in good shape. Make sure that the lid is not bent and that the rubber gasket still looks good. Then you put that lid on top of the jar, attach the vacuum sealer, and then you turn it on and it will suck out the oxygen. Now twist and press vacuum. It will stop on its own. Don't touch it. Wait for the pop. Now release it, pull out the hose, and now remove the jar lid attachment. You can see your jar is sealed. Don't worry if the blue rubber ring comes out. Just stick it back in and you're ready for next time. Your lid should be solid down. There shouldn't be any play in it, and that's how you know that your vacuum seal worked well. Then I like to put a ring on it to make sure that the jars don't get disturbed in storage. And then I check them occasionally. I'll go around and press on the lids and make sure that they are tight and there isn't any popping up and down. If they're popping up and down, the seal has broken. You can simply take them out and reseal them. Another gizmo I got recently is this portable vacuum sealer that's rechargeable, and I got it on Amazon. It wasn't very much money. It came with some lids and it came with the charging cord. Make sure you keep track of the cord and that you label it what it is, because I found that the other cords in my house don't fit this vacuum sealer. This vacuum sealer is handy because you can use not only the regular mouth jars, but also the large mouth jars. This part is for the regular mouth jars, and if you twist this off, now you can vacuum seal the wide mouth jars. You just want to make sure that you put this back on correctly, because this needs to be seated well all the way around or it isn't going to work. You're not going to get the vacuum sealer that you need. So I left this wrapper over the top. I peel it back when I want to plug in the charger, but I kept it on simply because it shows you a little bit of the directions, and sometimes we don't remember how things work. Anyway, that's my problem. So it has a little on-off button. You would press it on, and you can hear it starts vacuuming. And then when it's done, it shuts it off, just like it does on the Food Saver. It will automatically turn off once it reaches the full vacuum seal. I don't think this works as well as the Food Saver because I have vacuum sealed a few lids and then I found later that they unpopped. I could easily put on the vacuum sealer again, seal it up, and then it will last. So you do need to store your food as airtight as possible, but then don't depend on everything working 100% of the time. Nothing works 100% of the time, so you need to always be checking and inspecting your foods. You want to look the food over, make sure it still looks good, check that the seal is still tight, check over your pantry shelves, make sure there's no infestations of any bugs or anything. Make sure none of your canned foods have leaked. There's a lot of things that we need to maintain, just like we do our home or our clothing or our health. We need to maintain our food so that we make sure that it's there for us when we need it. Once you've gone to all that work to buy the food, store the food, put it away, make sure that you store your glass jars carefully. Put them back on the shelf, not at the front where they could get knocked over, or in an earthquake you could have a catastrophe and they could all fall over and break. A few easy ways to protect your jars is to store them back into the box that they came in. It already is divided and it's sturdy to hold jars, and you can put the box on the shelf and put the jars in there. Something else I like to do is I take orphan socks and I put them over the jar and put that then in the pantry. I live in earthquake country. I want to protect my belongings, including my food, the best that I can so that it's there for me and it lasts and we're safe. We don't have things falling or broken glass to contend with. So let us know, what are your favorite foods that you have been vacuum sealing? Have you tried any of these vacuum sealing gadgets? Which are the ones that you find work best for you? Most of all, make sure that you're stocking up on food. Then you need to remember to use some of that food, rotate and replace that food so that you'll have the best outcome on any single day that we have. Challenges are ahead. Let's prepare the best we can to make each day be the best it can be. I hope you'll like my video, share it with someone else you think might find this useful, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.